Sage Accpac ERP includes a payment code feature in accounts payable that has multiple uses and benefits. In this tutorial, we'll show you just one use of this feature that facilitates credit card payments for invoices from your vendors in accounts payable. In most businesses, credit cards are typically used for business-related out-of-pocket travel expenses such as restaurants, gas stations, and hotels, and these transactions involve companies that we normally do not want to track in accounts payable. However, when we pay a vendor in accounts payable with a credit card, we need a way to record such a payment and maintain all of the history and activity statistics normally associated with invoices and payments to vendors. So let's jump in and take a look at how the payment code feature facilitates this type of credit card transaction. First, we'll walk through the setup and then we'll walk through a transaction. For this credit card example, we'll set up one GL account for handling a vendor invoice payment paid by credit card. The account we're going to set up will be a liability account created close in proximity to your AP trade account, as we are essentially offsetting one payable account to another payable account. We'll go to General Ledger, select GL Accounts, and open the Accounts form. Here we'll set up account 2022 and we'll enter a description, vendor invoice payments on credit cards. And we'll select a structure code, and then the account group, which will be accounts payable. And finally, we'll open account type and select balance sheet. Now we'll click add and close. Now we need to set up the payment code that is the key to making this process work. We'll go to accounts payable, select AP setup, and open the payment code form. Let's call this payment code Visa CC for Visa credit card, and for a description, we'll enter Visa credit card vendor payment. Now here's the most important step. For payment type, we'll select Other, and you'll see shortly that choosing Other enables additional functionality that will facilitate tracking credit card payments to our AP vendors. And importantly, we won't use the credit card selection here. Its functionality is intended for a different purpose. And now we'll click Add and then Close. And that completes the setup process. Now let's run through an example set of transactions. For this example, we'll assume that the vendor invoices have already been entered using the standard method you currently use in Sage Accpac. Now let's suppose that you just got off the phone or a vendor's website where you paid a vendor invoice via credit card. We need to log this payment and remove it from what we owe. We'll use the standard AP payment method that we normally use to make a payment. We'll go to Accounts Payable, select AP Transactions, and open the Payment Batch List screen, and then click New to make a payment to a vendor, and we'll enter a simple description, Vendor Payment by Credit Card. For the entry, we're going to choose Payment and enter our vendor, which in this case is vendor 7936. And now here's the key step to this process. We'll go to the payment code field and choose Visa credit card that we created earlier in this tutorial. And notice that when we created this payment code, we chose Other as the associated payment type. By associating it with the Other option, Sage Accpac presents a new field called Other Account, which appears on our screen. This field gives you the opportunity to enter a credit against an account other than the cash account, which would normally be reduced in a cash or check payment. In our case, we'll put it against account number 2022 for vendor invoice payments on credit cards that we set up a few steps back. This will move the liability that we just paid from the accounts payable account into this Visa credit card holding account. So now, we'll click the blue Go button and we'll go ahead and pay this first invoice for $1710.82 by double-clicking the Apply column to change it to Yes, and that's the only invoice we're looking to pay. So now let's click Add. So here we've made a classic payment of an invoice, but we've transferred the liability into another liability account. Now we'll close this screen and we'll post the batch by making sure the batch is marked Ready to Post, and then we'll click the Post button. Now let's suppose that a week later the Visa bill arrives and we're going to pay the bill right away. So we'll set up a new transaction and call it Visa Credit Card Payment. Now this entry can be made using different invoice entry methods, The Visa bill might be entered in the invoicing area of Sage Accpac for later payment, but in this particular case, we'll choose to make this Visa payment immediately. So we'll select Miscellaneous Payment as our transaction type, which allows us to invoice and pay a bill immediately. And next we'll enter vendor number 9500, which is the vendor that we've created in AP for our Visa credit card, and notice that the payment code field updates to their pre-configured code. And since we're paying off of a credit card statement, we'll enter the due date of the statement in the invoice number field. And now moving to the grid, we'll enter the 2022 credit card account to pay our vendor's invoice that we selected earlier, and we'll enter the amount of that invoice, $1710.82. But also on this credit card statement, we not only have the AP vendor's charges, but we also have some out-of-pocket travel expenses. And these travel expenses were $75 for a restaurant charge and a gas charge for $85. So in this scenario, we've got two charges to vendors that we don't want to keep track of, and then we have the invoice that we paid on the credit card that was in the holding account. And in this case, we're offsetting the $1710.82 that we transferred from payables into this vendor invoice credit card payments account. So to recap, the AP payment code feature can be used in many ways to facilitate your transactions, including credit card payments to your AP vendors. Give us a call if you need assistance with any features in your Sage Accpac system. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye for now.